Hello, welcome to 2022 and this salon from the Lockdown Library. I am in front of my gold screen and later on, I'm the second half of this salon, I shall be in the Secret Gardens kitchen, so you'll see me in front of a packed larder of spices. Yes, this has been shot across two different locations. It was supposed to be part of the original, the end of the original season 5 last year, but as you know, we had some technical issues, and I'm very grateful that you've come back to watch it with me, to watch me do this with you now in the new year. How exciting! We're talking about someone really I'm really fascinated with today, and we're talking about people who change the world. So I thought I would start with, this whole season's been very much a homage as much to Voice of the Beehive and my love of them. So I thought I would sing you their song to start with, which is about the desire to change the world and perhaps not having the follow through, which I think so many of us face all the time. We are all together alone, and these are just wishes, and I am just dreaming. If I ever grow up, I will take care of the old and all the babies who have no one. You might think I give myself too much credit, but I am just dreaming, 'cause not much is sacred. There's not really much to do here anymore. I don't feel like you said I walk the earth, my darling, but I never feel at home. And we all say, I will change tomorrow. This could be a perfect place. I will change, be a perfect place. I will change it all tomorrow. I will assure all of the husbands who are guilty and the wives who feel useless. I will nurse all of the black and blue babies with their unhappy parents who had unhappy parents. And I will assure all of the boys who feel awkward and the girls who feel clumsy. I will walk alongside the old man who feels so alone as everyone has just by him now, baby. 'Cause not much is sacred. There's not really much to do here anymore. I don't feel like you said I walk the earth, my darling, but I never feel at home. And we all say, I will change tomorrow. This could be a perfect place. I will change, and this could be a perfect place. Change it all tomorrow. We are all together alone, and these are just wishes, and I am just dreaming. But this is a salon about someone who didn't just dream, who did the most amazing things. I'm of course talking about Rosa Parks. And one of the reasons I'm fascinated with her is partly because there's so much more to her than I ever realised when I started to look at her. And she has become a really interesting reminder to me that no matter how much women achieve, they're often reduced. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how I think that has happened. When I've looked at anything sort of fairly casually about Rosa Parks as she's cropped up in my experience, it's been very much like there's this little old woman and she was on a bus and she's like an accidental hero. She just happened one day to think enough's enough, I'm not moving out of the way of this white guy who wants to sit down. And then lo and behold, magically, she's the figurehead of a movement. And of course, the truth is wildly different. For a start, speaking as a 45-year-old woman, she was only 42 when she becomes someone who won't move on the bus and launches the Montgomery Bus Boycott from there. Only 42. You never even see her depicted without her little mop of white hair, which she does not look like at all. So when you see her in children's books and things, it's really strange. She's a very elegant, strong-faced, calm and quiet, dignified, youngish woman when she starts all this. And she's been involved in the movement for a really long time already. She's actually brought up in the movement. She writes really beautifully about something that her mother says to her, how she was brought up. This is how she explains her upbringing. My mother, Leona Macaulay, helped me to grow up proud of myself and other black people, even while living under racist conditions. She taught me not to judge people by the amount of money they had or the kind of house they lived in or the clothes they wore. People should be judged, she told me, by the respect they have for themselves and others. Her advice helped me do the hard things I had to do later in life. Which is amazing, isn't it? So she marries a man who's called Raymond, who's equally passionate about black rights and human rights. And they're already doing a lot of work clearing men who've been wrongly accused, black men who've been wrongly accused by the white court system, trying to get justice for black women who've been raped and aren't getting justice from the white criminal system. They're both, her and her husband, working for the NAACP, and she's secretary of it in 1943, which is like 10 years before the bus boycotts. So she's really remarkably astute campaigner. She's in 1955 when she does start the bus boycott. She's already been working with Martin Luther King that year, and in fact she's in the middle of organising a youth conference when she is on that bus that fateful day on December the 1st of 1955. And she describes how it happened very eloquently in her own words, which I'll read you now. The custom for getting on the bus for black people in Montgomery in 1955 was to pay at the front door, get off the bus, and then re-enter through the back door to find a seat. On the buses, if white people got on, the coloured would move back to the white section until it was filled. Black people could not sit on the same row as white people. They could not even sit across the aisle from each other. Some customs were humiliating, and this one was intolerable since we were the majority of the ridership. On Thursday evening, December 1st, I was riding the bus home from work. A white man got on, and the driver looked our way and said, "Let me have those seats." It did not seem proper, particularly for a woman, to give her seat to a man. All the passengers paid 10 cents, just as he did. When more whites boarded the bus, the driver, J.P. Blake, ordered the blacks in the 5th row, the first row of the coloured section, the row I was sitting in, to move to the rear. Bus drivers then had the police powers, through both municipal and state laws, to enforce racial segregation. However, we were sitting in the section designated for coloured. At first, none of us moved. "Y'all better make it light on yourselves and let me have those seats," Blake said. Then 3 of the blacks in my row got up, but I just stayed in my seat and slid closer to the window. I do not remember being frightened. But I sure did believe that I could make it light on myself by standing up. I sure did not believe that. Our mistreatment was just not right, and I was tired of it. The more we gave, the worse they treated us. I kept thinking about my mother and her grandparents and how strong they were. I knew there was a possibility of being mistreated, and an opportunity was being given to me to do what I had asked of others. I knew someone had to take the first step, so I made up my mind not to move. Blake asked me if I was going to stand up. "No, I am not," I answered. Blake said he'd have to call the police. I said, "Go ahead." In less than 5 minutes, 2 policemen came, and the driver pointed me out. He said he wanted the seat and I would not stand up. "Why do you push us around?" I said to one of the policemen. "I don't know," he answered, "but the law is the law and you're under arrest." Now, the whole reason that she becomes the sort of figurehead for, there's quite a few arrests that day, is because she is so astute and dignified and eloquent, and able to put herself and therefore the movement across so well and so profoundly. And this is in a bus boycott that lasts for over a year. It's remarkable. And yet, again, even within her own lifetime, there are people recounting Rosa Parks' action that day that I've just read you about, and saying it's because she was tired, as in, she'd been shopping and she was tired, or she'd been at work and her feet were tired. So she has to write sort of quite regularly in her lifetime about, no, I wasn't tired, like I just needed a bit of a sit down. Like, I'll read you how she describes her tiredness and what encouraged her to make the stand she did on the day she did. Here's how she describes it. "I have learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear. When I sat down on the bus the day I was arrested, I was thinking of going home. I'd made up my mind quickly about what I had to do that day, and that I felt it was right to do. I did not think of being physically tired or fearful. After so many years of oppression and being a victim of mistreatment that my people had suffered, not giving up my seat and whatever I had to face in not giving it up was not important. I did not feel any fear at sitting in the seat I was sitting in. All I was tired. Tired of being pushed around. Tired of seeing the bad treatment and disrespect of children and women and men just because of the colour of their skin. Tired of the Jim Crow laws. Tired of being oppressed. I was just plain tired. It's such a powerful voice, and I'm so excited to sort of to connect with it in a way that I had never thought, from the ways that I had seen her casually depicted, I would ever know those words. So, I mean, she also then obviously, she loses her job over that boycott. You know, she faces death threats, which are incredibly meaningful. She has people in her life who've been killed by through racism and by racist attacks and the Klan. And she goes on to be friends with Malcolm X. She's utterly remarkable. She writes, there's a whole book of her writing to young people and talking to them about the problems they face, being a bit of an agony aunt and saying to them, oh yeah, but telly is good, but do read books and all this sort of stuff. So she sets up her own foundation and kind of continues this very, very considered consummate work. And then just for your amusement, I should also let you know that completely randomly in 1999, she also sues the rapper group Outkast because they use her name in one of their songs, and they settle out of court. They do pay some money, I think, to her foundation, and they also agree to do a whole lot of community work with the young people that she works with through her foundation. So they come to this really amicable agreement, which of course you would do, wouldn't you? If you were Outkast and Rosa Parks was annoyed at you, you'd be like, oh damn, I've really got to sort that out. So she's pretty amazing, and this is how she wanted to be remembered. I want to be remembered as a person who stood up to injustice, who wanted a better world for young people, and most of all, I want to be remembered as a person who wanted to be free and wanted other people to be free. And my fight will continue as long as people are oppressed. That's what she did. A long life of fighting for the oppressed. I'm going to hand over the rest of this salon now to my two guests. I've got two amazing guests, Donna and Kelsey, who are both performers and activists. And they're also women of colour, and they talk to us in this next section both about the importance of Rosa Parks and also about the challenges they themselves have faced, and also the kind of words of wisdom they have in the same way that Rosa Parks hands on so much. They have some really important things to say to the people that they're sending the elevator down for, if you see what I mean. And they're both going to speak to us in BSL Sign, interpreted brilliantly for us by the amazing Stacey. And she'll be interpreting it from British Sign Language into spoken English. And that means that when we're working with two languages like that, they go at slightly different tempos sometimes. So we've done our best to sync those up. But of course, how one signs and how one speaks in spoken English can be quite different pace. So sometimes one of us will finish a little earlier or a little later than the other, but we hope that it makes sense. We've done it as closely as we can in the editing process, and great thanks to Becky Barry for her enormous help with that. And thank you to my wonderful interviewees and for Stacey for supporting our conversation. Straight after that conversation, we will then have Kelsey's poem performed for you, which is an amazing piece of work about her experiences and what she hopes for her children, but profound and a moving watch, I would say, and a contemplative way for us to go into this new year. I wish you enormously well with it, and I hope you enjoy looking at the spice array in my dad's kitchen that I should be in front of for the Zoom. Donna is in front of a beautiful piece of Christmas because we shot this a little while ago, so you'll see some nice Christmas lights behind her. Everyone is in their homes as usual for the Zooms. And I hope you're very happy and you're watching this from where you are, and that you have a wonderful 2022. And we'll see you for some Salon specials in it. Thanks so much.
My name is Kelsey. My sign name's Kelsey. And this is how people still use this sign name. That's fine. I'm an actor, workshop facilitator, and another role of mine, I'm learning to become a director at the moment. And also a poetry artist as well. So 4 different roles, and that's me, really. I don't think I'm going to add a 5th one in there, but yeah, that's me. Hello, my name is Donna. My name is Donna. I'm an actor for stage and theatre, and also for TV and short films as well. Also have different avenues of work. I'm a BSL consultant. I'm a BSL children's presenter. Am I missing something? Hang on, let me just cover what have I covered. And recently, I'm working with Derby Theatre with Treasure Island, their production at the moment. During the weekend, I was involved in the community company. So that's finished now, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it, working on that production this Christmas for Treasure Island. But really, I'm involved in theatre, TV, storytelling, and BSL. Oh, just wanted to add, almost forgot, my role recently as well. I'm a deaf facilitator for the youth theatre at Derby. So I started that this September. I think the same, actually. The information that I knew before, it wasn't much. And I thought this is very important for Black young children, as well as other people, other children, to realise that what we went through in our Black history, and our parents and our grandparents and the generations prior to that, you know, there's many generations, but I think it's really important, particularly because we don't have this information in school, especially secondary school. There's no iconic Black people that are spoke about in school, in history, but now it's starting to build momentum. So it's important that we understand our world. And I guess sometimes, especially in Black culture, we don't get to understand our culture through these icons such as Rosa Parks. So I do think it's important. I agree with Kelsey, because when I think about my time at school, I didn't learn anything about Black history, and it wasn't spoken about. It was just general history linked to the national curriculum, but not world history as such. So yeah, you are quite right about that. And what Kelsey is saying, it's very important to educate and to know about our history and generations. And with the Black Lives Matter movement that's built even further momentum recently, I think it's becoming wider known in society. And it's good to know about the past in order to inform what's happened in the history and for the future. And my future generations as well. It'd be nice to share and pass on the information linked to Black history. But to be quite honest with you, prior to reading more, I didn't know much in the past, but now I do.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because you're absolutely right about everything you're saying, but and even the few people that we do get to hear about sort of get kind of greatly reduced down in a way. Like I was just thinking when you were talking about those children's books, Kelsey, like quite often when I've seen Rosa Parks depicted, I can't think which book it was, but I can picture the illustration of her in a children's book that I found, and it mirrored the image that I had of her in my head, that she was a little old woman, you know, that she was kind of an accidental hero. Her feet were just a bit tired. You know, she just didn't want to get up because she'd been busy shopping. And by accident, she becomes like the figurehead of a movement. And of course, it's absolutely not the case. You know, she is already a seasoned, highly informed campaigner. She's only 42, you know, and she is sick of giving way. She's not tired. Her feet aren't tired. Her soul, you know, is tired. And she decides, you know, enough is enough. And she makes a calculated risk. But I just think it's really interesting that all of that stuff is sort of taken out of the picture, of the very limited picture we get of her. And she sort of gets reduced down to this much more manageable little package of sweet little old lady a lot of the time.
As a woman, I think we are still perceived as, oh, I guess people look down at us, really. And again, our experience within the world and our role models within the world. And I mean, I went to university drama school, and during rehearsals, there was a man, a group of women. The tutor was male, and it asked about if there was a woman had a question to an answer to the question. And basically, if a question was asked in the classroom and a male answered it, a woman would have answered it prior to that. But then it's almost like acknowledging the person who's the male, acknowledging them, thinking, oh yeah, that's right, rather than, and almost like disregarding what the female in the class has said. And it's almost like encouraging the males in the room and disregarding the female. It's almost like kind of keeping them at the forefront, in the lead, and just brushing and marginalizing the women to the side. And I do feel like that happens in, you know, whether it's in micro ways, it's still happening. And I guess when women do something important in society or globally, it's almost like it's not really as recognized. And again, if a man then does something very similar, even if it's a small action, it's like, oh wow, that's amazing. The person gets bigged up, but then it's almost like, well, a woman has done that before and you didn't give them the same recognition. And again, with deaf and disabled people, that perception, it's almost like that intersectionality. It's the way we're perceived. It's almost like it could be triple, it could be double, depending on the person's identity. So you know, and that's again in comparison to, say, a white person in comparison to a black person. The intersectionality depends on how people are perceived. My mom told me, we were just talking about school a while back. When my mum was in the classroom when she was younger, and a teacher was asking questions. And my mum would always be eager and raise her hand because she knew the answer. So, you know, she raised her hand and she would kind of get ignored, pushed to the side, disregarded. And another pupil in the classroom would be chosen to obviously answer the question. But my mum knew the answers to the question. So, you know, it's another example there. My mum would always raise her hand. But then at the same time, that the amount that she would raise her hand would become reduced, and then her as a person would almost become reduced by those that perceive her. Because if she's always being ignored, then why would you continue to do something by raising your hand if you're always going to be ignored? So sometimes your actions can be reduced as well if you're not encouraged. If she was encouraged, then of course you want to stay motivated in the room and keep putting the hand up, but being brushed aside then can change a person as well. So sometimes they can themselves become reduced as an effect. And again, I'm linking to my son. My son's quite shy. Sometimes he knows the answer and doesn't put his hand up. And I just think with my mum, in comparison, she knew the answer and raised her hand. My son knows the answer and he was too shy to put his hand up. But I'm just looking at the two generations and the mirroring of them as well in ways.
So I'm very moved by that both the intersectionality and the multi-generational layering of these things. Like if we don't challenge these things, there's the risk, isn't there, of them being handed down through continuing through generations. And that's what I think all of us and are keen to challenge and change. I was thinking about your roles as workshop facilitators and public figures, these performance roles that place you sort of front and center, and therefore sort of they allow you to become the inspiration for the other people around you and for younger generations, which is really exciting. So I wondered, before we finish, what you think is important for young people, for anyone watching. What would you like them to either to know about your experiences, or what would you like to tell them or ask them to help change, or that might help them in the challenges they face? What's the key thing you'd like to pass on to people watching?
I guess a key tip or advice is definitely encouraging and to encourage the Black community and one another as well. I'm just thinking about my history when I was performing on stage. I would always be in a room and think, oh, I'm the only Black person in the room on stage. So again, there are many people in the Black community who are interested in the arts, but I think they may avoid it, or they've got a passion, and it's actually encouraging them and pushing them gently to stand up and perform and get in front of a camera if they can. If you've got the passion, just go for it. Also, don't give up. Keep going, keep persevering, try different avenues. You don't have to just put yourself in one box. You can try a bit of this, try a bit of that, whatever you want. There's no right and wrong in your own path. It's just good to give things a go. If you like it, you never know. Or if you don't like it, you can move on to something else. So that's exactly what I did. I just thought, oh, I'll give this a go. Do I like a bit of theatre? Oh, yes, I do. Also, I like being in front of the camera. So I enjoy different avenues of my work, different roles. So it's okay to have strings to your bow and to incorporate that within your experience and your career, and to be encouraged, thinking, oh yeah, I can do that. But again, I think the Black community, some people might think, I don't really have much experience. It doesn't matter. You've got your life experience. It's good for you to be that role model for the younger generation and to pass the baton down, to be that person that other people may look up to. So continue, persevere, and don't stop. So hopefully then it will grow within the community. Really, it's important to have a diverse experience in this industry. I think it's really important to show yourself, not to back off, not to hide, to really be assertive, to really know who you are as a person. When I grew up, I thought, oh no, I'm deaf, I'm Black, I'm a woman, I can't do this, can't do that. And then I thought, with the rejection, I thought, I think rejection's actually a positive thing. You can learn from the rejection. Again, with your confidence, it should increase your confidence. You should be able to learn from that, and I'd be able to accept feedback, ask questions so you can build yourself. Always be assertive in order to build yourself. Don't give up. And your journey's there. It's your own individual journey. It might not be the right time at this moment, but your time will come. Before, I would always think, oh gosh, I'm not good enough. No, I needed to just take a minute, think positively, change my mindset, know that I've got a can-do mindset. If I see other people doing it, I'm thinking, well, if they can do it, I can do it. So don't be passive, be assertive, rise up. And also then you're going to inspire the young people, teenagers as well. It doesn't matter if you're an old person. It doesn't matter about your age. It's never too late. You can do anything in your life. And if you want to achieve your dream, you can. Whatever you dream, you can achieve. And again, sometimes you may be stuck and think, oh gosh, I don't know where to go, but there will be a breakthrough. You can navigate, you can make your own path as well. You can find different ways and be creative with how you do it. So again, sometimes people may follow one particular path and you find your own individual path. So that's just my own tip. Find your own way.
I love that. I totally agree.
Also, I think it's important to talk to people who have been through that experience. Again, you know, it is a slow process. And if you don't have a role model, be your own role model, be your own inspiration. You know, I've been through hell, I've been through some tough times, but I realize I've been through that. It means that I know how to go through it, go past it, and achieve it. So sometimes it's difficult to find your own role model. Growing up, I didn't have anyone. So, you know, that has the same skin color as me, that's deaf. There was no one out there for me. So I thought, be your own role model. I can be that for myself. And other generations will then look up and think, oh, I want to be like that person. And they started from somewhere.
That's incredibly cool. I'm gonna end there because I think those are two fantastic sets of closing remarks. And just thank you for being those role models and for being a brilliant, amazing end to the season 5 of the Salons. Thank you very, very much.
I should kiss my son on the forehead and tell him everything's gonna be alright. I should kiss my daughter goodnight and don't let the bed bug bite. I should tell my son whether your hood is down or your pants is not hung low, the police will always aim for you. I should tell my daughter whether your skirt is below your knees or your top is not low, you will have pervs looking at you. I should tell my son, don't matter what your skin colour is or what brand you wear, always keep your head held high. I should tell my daughter, don't matter what you look like or how you wear your hair, people will give you the evil eye. I should tell my son, when you are a boy or a man, it is always okay to cry. I should tell my daughter, when you make big or small mistakes, you should always continue to try. I should tell my son, even though you say it was not me, you will not be seen as the victim. I should tell my daughter, even though you say stop pointing at me, there will always be racism. I should tell my son to watch your back and be careful who you trust. I don't want you shot dead or in handcuffs. I should tell my daughter to watch your mouth. Kind words is a must. I don't want you not dead or roughed up. I should tell my son, you may shout enough is enough, but your voice will not always be heard. I should tell my daughter, you may scream peace and justice, but not everybody's head will be turned. I should tell my son, you will be proud of your culture and your history, but there are people out there telling lies and destroying our memories. I should tell my daughter to remind yourself of our victory. We've tried many times, years, decades and centuries. I should tell my son to raise his hand. It's not worth showing hate to the enemy. I should tell my daughter to show her hand. All we ever wanted is equality. I should tell my son I will always love him more than a mile or more than half a mile. I should tell my daughter I will always love her with love and smiles. I should tell my son, I should tell my daughter, I should tell my children, I fear for my future, I fear for my unborn child.